in a time zone like the UK. Good evening if you're somewhere where it is your evening. My name is Charlotte. I work at Loughborough University and I will be hosting this session today. And the whole point of this session is for parents of students who are considering studying in the UK to find out a little bit more, ask your questions as well. I know as parents, often it's your students, it might be the first time they're moving away from home. It's a big decision for them to make, but also for you to support them with. And I also know that a lot of students try and be very independent, try and do it all themselves, but that they need support. So it's amazing that you're here. I remember when I was applying to university, I thought I knew everything. I was one of those 17-year-olds. I was like, Mum, I don't need your help. I thought she was embarrassing. But actually, looking back now, I know that my mum needed to ask those questions. She needed that advice as much as I did. It was her first time going through the system as well. So hopefully this can offer the opportunity for you to find out a little bit more. We want to run this as a really informal session. So for you guys to get the most out of it, please do engage with us, ask your questions, let us know what you want more information about. We've got a few topics that we might discuss, but this is for you. So you're very welcome to put your videos on, your cameras on and speak to us, but also utilize the chat box as well, and we'll be answering questions in there. So I'll just introduce myself. So as I said, I'm Charlotte. I work at Loughborough. I've been doing this job for coming up to 7 years now. And before that, I was a student at Loughborough. So my role is to support all the students, specifically applying from Southeast Asia and Hong Kong, but I get involved with students all over the world. And I'm joined with colleagues from 2 other institutions as well. So I'll pass over to Rachel if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, good morning. My name is Rachel Jones and I work at Oxford Brookes University. As Charlotte said, this is an opportunity for you guys to ask us anything. I think between all 3 of us, we've got so much experience. I've worked at 4, 5, I think maybe 6 different UK universities. So please feel free to ask us anything. And I was exactly the same, Charlotte. I remember my parents coming to an open day, asking lots of questions and me thinking, why are they asking that for? And I realised now those were very good questions. And when we got home, they told me everything that I'd missed because I was so excited at the open day. So yeah, feel free to ask us anything that you're a bit confused about, want to know more information about. Definitely feel free to get in contact and ask those questions. Yeah, that chat box is open. So yeah, we're really pleased to be here with you today, guys.
Hello everyone, my name is Gosia Jarac and I'm from Falmouth University, which is located in Cornwall in the southwest of England, so quite a long way away from London. I also studied at Falmouth and currently am an international officer there, so I have quite a lot of experience studying in the UK from an international student perspective. I made my way there all by myself. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I wish I had somebody like my parents or the panelists here today to give me more information about things. I know it can be very daunting. It can be confusing and super scary for a student to move away from home. So no question is a bad question, and we're here to help you. Looking forward to the chat.
Super, thanks very much, guys. And I think this can be a really useful discussion. What I would like to know first, to help us kind of inform this discussion a little bit more, if everyone watching could pop in the chat box whether you are a parent of a student who has already applied to study in the UK, or if you're a parent who is really early on in the journey considering applying in the UK, and that will help. So if you guys can pop that in the chat box alongside any questions or anything you're hoping to get out of this session. We do have, as you can see, we've got some slides, and I think one of the things that we were going to talk a little bit about is kind of some of the things, if that slide's gone across, of different things that parents might get concerned about, students might get concerned about as well. Rachel, do you want to talk us through some of the things on those slides?
Yeah, definitely. So I've done a couple of these sort of sessions before, and I get a lot of worried parents asking, how does my child get a bank account? How do they get a mobile phone, SIM card? is the city safe? Is the campus safe? You know, what have you got in place at your campus for as safety for my child? Lots of questions around, you know, the application process, scholarships that are available. You know, you don't want to miss out on any money that they're eligible for to help them. Things like traveling, getting to the UK. Who will meet them at the airport? Will someone be there when they arrive after a long flight? Things like visas as well, you know, and which visa, because recently it's changed names. Before it was the Tier 4 visa, now it's called the student visa. There's also something called the post-study work visa, which now is called the graduate route visa. So everything keeps changing. So yeah, any questions about that, about living costs as well? You know, how expensive is it to come and study in the UK? I know Oxford, where I'm from, has got a reputation of being an expensive city, and it is, but luckily 1 in 4 people here are a student. So if you're a student, you're all right. It's a lot of student discounts. Students don't have to pay things like council tax, which are very expensive, trust me. So yeah, these are all the sort of things I've been asked. You know, things like English language, there's going to be a language barrier. Will they be okay? Can they get extra English support on campus? I know lots of universities will offer that for free alongside their course. They can go and get some English modules if they need it. We do things like language cafes where all our international students get together and they practice their English, they practice other languages in a really informal setting. Also, I put lonely on there. What happens if your you know, son or daughter is at university a long way away and they having trouble making friends? Maybe they're quite shy. A massive culture shock as well. They're coming to a completely different country with different food and different ways of doing, different cultures, different ways to get on the bus, different ways to do lots of things. And the last thing we want is for our students to feel lonely or isolated in any way. And I hope, you know, we want the students to know that there's lots of support available for them. We do something called an international buddy scheme. We have mentors. I mean, lots of universities have these things, and sometimes students just don't know about them. So they're there, and they can have other international students coming to reach out to other students, new students that are feeling a bit lonely and sad, because everyone's going to get a bit homesick at one point. I think even students from the UK get homesick and they want to go home, and luckily for them, they can normally just nip on a train or ring their mum who will come pick them up, and they'll have a weekend at home, and that really helps. But how can you do that when your family are thousands of miles away? Thank God we have things like Zoom like this. I think that would really help. But yeah, these are sort of questions we've been asked. So if anything about this is worrying you, or you want to know a bit more about the support available, we do things like pre-departure briefings where we'll tell, you know, new students what to bring. We don't want you having to bring pots and pans and duvets in your luggage. You know, so lots of universities have that all here waiting for you. So any questions like this, pop it in the chat box. It's that button that looks like a speech bubble. Mine's at the top of my screen, just in case. It's got a couple of lines in it. Click in there, type in any questions you've got. But we'll start going through some of this stuff. Some of it's a lot more complicated than others. There you go. Look, Charlotte's just typing in there now, so you'll be able to see where it is. Mine just comes up at the side. Perfect. Yeah, please do put your questions in. Or, you know what? Feel free to unmute yourself and say, I think you can put a hand up or an emoji up as well. Please let us know what your worries are, or if your student has any worries. Are they getting a bit anxious? Do they want to reach out to a current student before they come? Because you can do that as well, and we can get students chatting. Lots of us work with something called UniBuddy, where they can chat with a current student here. I think one of my best tips is for students to join the social media for the university they're interested in. So lots of courses have Facebook pages, Instagram pages, lots of accommodation halls. If a student finds out they're going to be in a certain accommodation, there'll probably be a Facebook page for that accommodation that they can join and say, hey, you know, I'm coming in September, I'm going to be studying this course, and they can make friends before they arrive. And I think that's so important. I did that. I remember I joined a social media group for my Hallsborough residents, started chatting to people before I arrived, and that was so nice. When I got here, I recognised people, and they were like, "Oh, here she is." She was chatting away on the Instagram, and now I'm here. So yeah, lots of hints and tips, lots of things to help your students. But these are all the sort of things we've been asked before. And as Charlie said, there's no silly questions or random questions. Everything has been asked before. If it puts your mind at ease, it's worth it. So please get in contact and let us know.
Absolutely. And we will cover some of those issues a little bit more as we kind of go through today. I've got a few questions, the things that I get asked really regularly that I want to cover. But I think first off, obviously one of the big questions that we get asked is about student visas. I think, Gosha, can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So applying for a visa, the processes behind that will be different at every single university. Every single university will have a different system in place, different kind of people, roles and responsibilities of staff at the university who can help with students understand the process. I think the main bit that is confusing, that students find confusing, is a lot of abbreviations in the UK, which might be very, very difficult to understand. So we've prepared a list of them, and they are on this slide that you can see right now. So a lot of these you will see when applying for a visa. So these are the commonly used phrases or abbreviations. The Home Office is the UK government office responsible for immigration. UKVI is the United Kingdom Visas and Immigration. PBS is the points-based system. So based on that system, students can get specific amount of points for different things within their visa application. So those would be, for example, 10 points for reaching English language requirements, 50 points for something else, and also another 10 points for meeting the UKVI financial requirements. So there is a lot of terminology that will be very important and key for students to get used to before they go through the visa application process. One of the most important things is the CAS, which is the confirmation of acceptance for studies. This is something that you will see or hear about from different universities. And a CAS letter is issued by the university where the student chooses to study. So they can't have several CAS letters from different institutions. They have to decide on one, and then they will get the CAS statement. And the CAS statement is a mandatory part of visa application. It indicates the institution where the student will be studying, and the university where they choose to study that issues the CAS letter is something that we call a student sponsor. So I think that's very important to understand. Before universities can issue a CAS, students have to have an unconditional offer from a university. Certain universities might ask them for different documentation of a proof. So for example, at Falmouth, we ask students for financial documentation, the proof that they can afford to live and study in the UK. And we do it for two different reasons. We want to make sure that students won't have their visa refused on financial grounds. And it's that extra level of support just to make sure that they are in the correct format, that your student or you as a student are prepared for the next steps in your visa application. And once you have all of that out of the way, you can start thinking about submitting a visa application. So I hope that makes sense. In case something was confusing, please feel free to pop your questions in the chat. I'm happy to explain that. And you can also find more information, so thank you very much, Charlotte, via different UK government, but also a UK CISA website, which is where you will find more details about how visa works in the UK, how you can apply, what documents you will need, and more sort of kind of details that could clear those things up for you. So if you want to visit the website, you can scan the QR code on the screen. Alternatively, you can feel free to take a picture of that and just type in the link in Google, or type in UK CESA in Google as well. It will be easier for you to find that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's really helpful. I think the visa can be something that students and parents can find quite stressful. Often students say to me they get really upset about it, parents get very nervous, and then they go, oh, it was really easy. But it is quite daunting, and it's a scary thing to do. I think it's also worth noting that there are lots of support networks out there for you. Any students that apply to agents can help. The British Council in countries can help with visas. There's lots of advice on the internet as well. But also, most universities will have a visa support team. So at Loughborough, we have our visa team. They're all visa trained, and students. We have a whole host of advice on the website. If you Google the universities that you're applying to, which will talk you through the process completely, but also you can book an appointment with the visa team. We've got an online booking form to have a quick chat about what needs to be done, particularly if there's any issues or anything that's slightly different for your case. Talk to the visa teams at the universities. They're the experts. They know what they're doing. Also, I think universities, when you get to that point, will offer more support. So, for example, at Loughborough, we do a visa webinar where our visa team kind of talk it through as well. So there is a lot of these opportunities available to get in touch, particularly once students have applied to university and have an offer to study with the institution. They'll find that the universities they've applied to offer them all sorts of opportunities to get in touch with international officers like ourselves. We can be your first point of contact, answer any questions. I spend a lot of my days talking to parents, answering emails, which of course I'm very happy to do. But also we will share opportunities like these webinars, university specific opportunities to get in touch with our current students. Hopefully you'll find as your son or daughter goes through the process that those options are available. We know that sometimes communication can be an issue between students and parents. If it's going to your child's email address, you might not see this. Do encourage them to share these opportunities with you. They might not want to join a webinar about visas. They might think that sounds really boring, but you might. The other thing to do is keep in touch with the IOs yourself. You can ask questions. It doesn't have to be your son or daughter that emails us. You can get in touch with us. And I think increasingly universities are realizing that parents are often missed out in this communication. So, for example, Loughborough ran a Parent and Guardians Week last month that was specifically focused on parents. So we are here to help you. Don't feel like at any point in your journey that you can't get in touch. One of the things that I want to talk about, I know that I get asked a lot, and that I think parents are more concerned about than the students often, is where do the students live when they come and study with you? Rachel, where do students live when they're at Oxford Brookes?
Yeah, luckily, don't worry. If you're going to send your son or daughter over to us, we'll find them somewhere nice to live. Don't worry. At Brookes, we have 10 different types of accommodation. So student accommodation on campus, something for everyone. So we have ensuite, we have postgrad only, undergrad only, catered halls, all different prices because they all offer different things. But just so you know, they're all single occupancy. You don't get any sort of roommate or dorm buddy. That's a very American thing that scares the British. We don't like that. Everyone gets their own room, so there's no sharing a room. And the nice thing about living in student accommodation is that it's very safe. It's like our one has security cameras. You've got to have a card or a code to get in, and it's not just to get into the building, it's to get into the floor and to get into the room. And also it's nice to not have to worry about it because it's a one-off rental payment. You don't have to start faffing about with bills and internet. It's all included, which is so nice. So it's one payment, there's no hidden costs, and that includes everything. That is the rent, the bills, the internet, the heating, because you're going to want to put that on in the UK. It's also things like contents insurance. With us, you get a bus pass that's included, which means you can get free travel on all the buses. to it. And also you're surrounded by other students, and there is that sort of moving in day experience where that first day or weekend where all the students are arriving, they're all moving into their halls together, everyone's new, everyone's nervous, you've all got your rooms and you're making them your own. So also that's another thing, when you first enter student accommodation, it can look really bare and sad because it's just a room, almost like a hotel room. But once you start putting your pictures of your family and friends up, and you know, your mess on the floor, your clothes on the chair, it becomes your little room. And I can't believe how different all the student accommodation looks with different students in. When it started off as the same room, it blows my mind, especially when some people bring rugs and lamps and stuff, and you're like, wow, this person has made this room their own.
That's definitely one of my tips for students. When we go back to talking about homesickness, is to try and get them to bring something from home, whether it's photos of their family, whether it's, you know, probably not the bedding that they have at home, but a pillowcase that's the same, or, you know, one cushion cover that is, you know, that they've had, or something that reminds them of home. That kind of just helps with that homesickness thing as well. And I did that when I moved in, but particularly I think girls are better at it than boys, of making their room really cozy, and that helps. It makes it into a space that the student wants to be part of. So I definitely advise that as well. And I think, yeah, that point about the support in halls of residence, it is a massive part. I know at Loughborough, the halls of residence are a huge part of the social activity. We have wardens and sub-wardens. So the warden is like the hall mum or dad. They're normally a member of academic staff who live within the hall with the students. And they are there for all the pastoral support. If anything goes wrong, they manage the kind of disciplinary process. There's no curfews or anything, but the warden generally knows what's going on. And their eyes and ears in the hall are the sub-wardens, who most halls have 4 or 5 PhD students who, again, live in. They are there. They have a 24-hour phone. They're there to be contacted if a student needs anything. They're all first aid trained. They are all available. To be honest, most of their job is letting students into their rooms when they've lost their keys or they've locked themselves out of their flat. But they are also there if anything goes wrong. You know, I remember one of my flatmates got ill when we were a student. We didn't really know what to do, and we rang the sub-warden, and they came and helped. They help with all sorts of things. And I don't think, as a student, I realised to what extent there was that support there. I thought I was being really independent and I could do what I wanted. Actually, looking back, and as I got older, we had a committee of second and third years who they each had a list of students that they had to see every day. I thought this second year, who was being really nice to me, was just being really friendly. And we did become really good friends, and he's still one of my really good friends. But actually, it was his job to make sure that I'd come out of my room every day, to make sure that I was settling in. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, it was nice, but that was there. And they would go, you know, if I'd been feeling particularly homesick or I hadn't been engaging or leaving my room, they would then go to the warden and say, this student might need a little bit of extra support. So that is there. How about at Falmouth, Scotia?
So quite similar at Falmouth, we have a security office. So similarly to 2 other universities, if something goes wrong, something breaks in the flat, students are always free to come and ask. They also pick up the post for students. So if they are not home because they are attending classes and so on, they can go and pick up their post from one place on the campus. And similarly to Oxford Brookes and Loughborough University, we have student mentor scheme where a student in their first year gets a mentor from a year above from the course. So that is the point of contact for them in the student community, instead of having to speak to staff, which can be quite scary sometimes. And I know that coming from another country, you know, the cultural differences can be very, very huge. So I was quite scared to ask for help. Oftentimes, you know, we're taught to be independent where I come from. So it was super scary to reach out to somebody, and just knowing that the support is at the university. I think that's very important to remember, do not be scared to ask for help, whether you are a parent or whether it is for your son or daughter, who's coming to study at the university in the UK. It's important to remember that the university is there for its students. It's important to ask for help. If they don't know where to go, there are kind of generic offices or places where somebody will be able to help and direct them to speak with an appropriate staff member or another student. So I think that's all I would say or add to what's already been said.
Yeah, I think students are encouraged to be very independent when they get to university. They think it is a big step up from school and living at home, but students think that they're much more on their own, whereas actually there are at institutions in the UK these support networks that students can't really get away from. They have a personal tutor within their academic department who meets at Loughborough. They meet at least once a week in the first week. They monitor their grades throughout. They monitor their attendance. Obviously, attendance at university isn't compulsory, but if I remember when I had a week that I wasn't well, I didn't go to my lectures for a few days, and I just had a really nice message from my tutor being like, just checking in, everything okay? Do you need any help catching up? What's going on? And as it happened, all it was, I had a bit of the flu, and I had a really good friend on my course who was taking notes and doing it all with me anyway. But had I needed it, that offer was there, which was great. We've had a question come in, which is a really good one. What kind of equipment do the dorms supply, and what basic equipment should we bring? And this is a really interesting question, particularly for international students who are going to have to fly across the world. We do, and most universities do, a free coach collection from the airport to take students. And we see a whole host of different things that students are trying to travel around the world with. What we always try and encourage students to do is not travel with more than you can carry. Particularly if you've got a long flight, if we're flying kind of from the Far East or Southeast Asia and you're perhaps changing, you won't have slept, or the student won't have slept overnight. They're arriving and they've suddenly got lots of bags to look after. That can be daunting. So dorms in the UK, they will vary depending on the option. And before you move to the university, the halls of residence will be in touch to say what is available. Most will provide kind of the basic furniture, beds, some level of bedding. At Loughborough, we've got 17 different halls of residence. Some provide pillows, some don't. So when I moved in, I had to provide all of that myself. Some will be catered, so students will get all their food provided, so their kind of kitchen needs are minimal. Others will be self-catered, so they will have to cook. And some universities may provide some provisions. At Loughborough, it's mostly up to the students. We always tell students when they're moving into kitchens that there doesn't need to be 6 sets of everything. We don't need everyone bringing 6 sets of cutlery for a family, 6 pans. Come with the necessary. Also, I remember moving in and I like to cook, and my mum, we went to IKEA and we took all the pots and pans, and then I got there and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to use half of these. Realistically, I'm probably going to eat pasta most days. But so students will need to have a look. Universities supply a packing list. So we've got a really detailed packing list of what we recommend, annotated by our current students who say, yeah, you don't need this, wish I'd taken that. But most universities also offer a service where you can buy a starter pack. So before you arrive, you can sign up for a starter pack to be in the room, which will include bedding, it will include the necessary kitchen stuff, even toiletries like shower gel and stuff. So when they arrive on that first day, possibly jet lagged, tired, nervous, they haven't got to worry about having all that stuff with them. I also think that first week, the orientation week, is a really nice week for students to have to bond with their flatmates, to kind of say, have you got any of this that I can borrow? Or I'm going to go to town and I need to buy this. Do you want to come? I remember my halls of that first week, there were 13 of us that lived on a floor, and all 13 of us joined this little conga line and walked into town and went to Sainsbury's and bought. One of my flatmates needed another pillow. I needed some more cutlery, and it was just, we all walked around town together, oriented ourselves, and it was a nice little bonding experience. So yeah, it's something that students are really supported with. Guys, have you got any more tips on that?
I was just going to say, don't bring any electrical equipment for the kitchens and stuff, just because as a safety precaution, anything that's going to be plugged in has to be tested by the estates team. And every year we get students trying to bring rice cookers or kettles, and unfortunately, they're just not allowed, just in case. Because everything has to be tested. I think we have had cases where students have bought something and then asked for it to be tested, which is fine, and then they've tested it and said, "Yep, that's all okay." But yeah, just be careful with bringing any sort of electronics and stuff. Not for your room. I think things like hair straighteners and stuff, that's going to be fine. But things normally in the shared kitchens, like extra kettles or microwaves or rice cookers, just double check those sort of things because you might get in trouble.
I think one additional thing from me would be to remember that your child is going to travel back home at some point. So bring in the absolute necessary things first off to survive those few months is probably the best idea. Something personal like what's been mentioned already, pictures and things that will decorate the room and make them feel at home. And once they go back again, they can, make sure they bring those things that were missing and that they couldn't get in the UK. There are a lot of huge supermarkets which aren't very expensive in the UK as well. So they can get those things or even get them delivered. We have Amazon, we have most supermarkets that do delivery and online food deliveries as well. So don't forget about those things as well. They are not going to be left to themselves, and oftentimes flatmates in student halls especially share the kitchen utilities such as plates or pans and pots. So it really depends on the communication and the relationship that you have with your flatmates. But I think heavy things and big things are probably not worth bringing with you first off.
Yeah. And I think that point about delivery is something I was going to pick up on. You can get everything delivered. So a lot of our students increasingly, over the last few years, it's become increasingly easy to get everything delivered next day from Amazon, small businesses as well. And I've worked really closely with a couple of our international students' parents over the last few weeks to put together a guide. And this is something that they say that not only does being able to get things delivered make things easier, but also it can be a really nice way to connect with your student, to connect with your son or daughter, and remind them that you're thinking of them, even if even if they're not engaging with you. So I spoke to one of the mums and she said that sometimes she just drops her daughter a little something in the post, particularly if she knows she had a tough day or she's missing something, she sends her an Amazon parcel. But the biggest tip that I've seen, and this also helps fight homesickness, is there are a lot of Facebook groups for parents and expats in the UK from different countries. So I've got a really good relationship with a lot of our Malaysian parents, and there's a fantastic Facebook group of Malaysians in the UK, and a lot of them have their own food businesses, or there are shops in the UK. And one of the things that this student's mum does is order some Malaysian food to be cooked and sent to her daughter in the UK as a kind of touch from home. And she does it, Nishka says it's just occasionally, when she's got deadlines, she'll find that she's got a parcel, which might be some ingredients, it might be a cake, but particularly something that she's missing from home that is perhaps slightly more difficult to get. And it's kind of really nice. Like, imagine getting a parcel in the post that is, oh, my mum's thinking about me. I haven't had this cake for ages. And to be honest, I miss traveling so much that I've started ordering it for myself as well. I found a roll arrived in the post for me the other day and I was ecstatic. It was the best thing that happened all week. So there are lots of ways that you can connect with your son or daughter as well. Very conscious that we're coming to the end. So we've got 2 kind of minutes left, really, 2 or 3 minutes. If you have any more questions, please do let us know. I'm going to put the slides back up on the screen with our email address. As I said, you are more than welcome to keep in touch with us. Let us know anything we can help with. That should be up now. And then any of you guys got any final tips for parents? Rachel, do you want to go first? I know you've got to run off.
Yeah, I think we both do actually. I was just going to say, local businesses, big businesses in the area are very clever. They know that September you're going to get new students that will need things. There'll be student sale, buy this, there. Normally discounted half price. So yeah, if your son and daughter does arrive and realise, oh my gosh, I don't have a tin opener. Oh my gosh, I don't have this. There are many stores that will be anticipating those students coming in, and there'll be loads of sales on, loads of extra things to get. One good tip as well is a lot of students would bring warm clothing, because the UK is considerably cooler than a lot of other countries, but they're quite bulky. They do take up a lot of space. But again, we do have some big stores here that have, you know, really good student prices, and also student discounts. Students get their NUS card. They can show that in so many high street stores and get 10%, 20%. And there's also a couple of websites, things like Uni Days, Student Beans websites, where they can sign up, and you can get massive discounts. Being a member of staff at university, I also get this. I just got 35% off a new pair of shoes. Like some of the discounts are huge. So lots of student discounts for students. They can really keep costs down. It's definitely worth knowing.
I would also give a tip about different universities. So I know today's session was quite generic, but if there is a particular university, might not be the one that you've spoken to today, but it's always good to check on their website what's available to students, what kind of support networks, but also check out different webinars and virtual sessions. It could be about the specific topic that you're particularly interested in. Just join this one that you're interested in, find out more information, and keep in touch with us in case of any questions or anything that we can help with.
Yeah, I think fantastic tip. My final tip would be keep in touch. Let the universities know if ever we can help. This is our job. Ultimately, this is what we get paid for at the end of the day, is to make sure that you guys have all the support. We're always the sort of people that do this job that are people persons. We like talking to you. It's a bit of our job that we enjoy, the engaging with students and parents, but never feel that you're bothering us, never feel that you can't ask questions. I think actually if you don't get a reply from a university, that might be quite telling about their student support. Most universities are very good at replying, offering all the help that you need. If there's any issues, you know, it happens all the time that students have issues, the universities have issues, there's miscommunications. We're gutted when that happens. So do keep in touch. The international offices are the best point of contact for you because we know everyone across the university. If you need accommodation, we can put you in touch. If you need admissions, we can put you in touch. We can get that done. Often a little bit faster than if you would email those departments direct, because, you know, we do get a lot of applications, but let us know whenever we can help at whatever stage of the journey. And also we have a lot of contact with students and parents after they've started. Sometimes we'll work with a student all the way through their application. They'll arrive on campus and we'll never hear from them again. That's great normally because it means they're having a good time. But actually, we like to keep in touch. We like to see how your son or daughter has grown as a student, what they've been involved with. We do like to keep in touch. I've got some good friends that I've met through their son or daughter coming to the UK. So we're going to finish on that point. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much to the three of us, the two panelists that I've got with me today, Rachel and Gosha, for joining us. And have a lovely rest of your day wherever you are.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.